I have come down to probably the best place to demonstrate a wide angle lens. It's really wide here. Can't get much wide open than that, can you? Okay, it's a stupid idea, but at the very least I'll be able to see whether there's any distortion in this little 10mm lens from 7Artisans. One of the major advantages, of course, to working with a wide angle lens, and let's not be too coy about this, this is a 10mm. So on Micro Four Thirds 20, that took me by surprise, and it's an APS-C design, so around 15mm, so it's pretty wide. It's one of the disadvantages, of course, with a crop sensor is you don't necessarily get that wide an angle. But I can get really close to this, so I'm 6 inches from it, and I'm kind of stopping down to kind of f16 to see what we can get on this, and just waiting for a wave to kind of come up and engulf this rock. Hit rock, big pebble. According to the news, it's probably the hottest day of the year, or maybe the start of the hottest few days of the year, and doesn't necessarily feel it here too much because we've got beautiful sea breezes. It's a lovely time, I'll tell you, and because it's midweek and the schools are still not off, the beach is relatively empty, and perhaps it is an ideal time to come out and test this little lens. I mean, it really is very dinky. I mean, stupid me for opening a camera on the beach like this, bit of a breeze, but look, there's nothing to it. Of course it's a manual lens, of course it hasn't got weather sealing to it, and of course it's got beautiful coloration around the dials. I mean, why not? I'm not entirely certain what purpose they serve, but hey, if we can have blue and red and yellow and white, then hey, why not? Why not indeed? I'm actually quite enjoying using this. As I said, it's 10mm f3.5 widest aperture, which is absolutely fine. Its focus range is from 0.6 of a foot, so what's that? Let's call it 7 inches, something like that, through to well, obviously infinity. What a stupid thing to say. And nice simple click on the aperture there, f3.5 through to f22. Not many options in between, just kind of full stops in between that. But actually, for this kind of money, it's $99. I'm not sure you can ask for a great deal more. It's as light as you like, and it's a full metal body. It's kind of the thing we've come to expect from low-cost Chinese lens suppliers, isn't it? And by Christ, they have got so good recently. I've done some test shots with this in the past week or two, and I've been really rather impressed by it. So let's get out and see what it's like with other subjects in bright light like this. My current tests have kind of been in darkness, where I thought it might be a good idea to just go out and give it a shot. So I'll put you a couple of those up, and we'll go for a walk down the beach. Maybe get an ice cream. A lot of people might think that a wide-angle lens is perfect for landscapes because, of course, landscapes are wide. It's not necessarily so. In fact, if it's an opinion you hold, then you either need a very good reason for that opinion, i.e. you know how to use it, or you're probably holding an opinion quite incorrectly. Because, generally speaking, as wide as the landscape tends to be, unless you're trying to emphasizing that width, then actually what you're probably doing is also trying to include too much and therefore confusing the issue. Landscapes are normally much better when you can kind of focus in on something, kind of hone down on something, really select a subject rather than a wide vista. Wide vistas do tend to work, of course, but don't forget, the wider your lens, the smaller everything's going to be in the frame. And that's why they don't necessarily make great landscape lenses. But you do have to use them properly, so long as you have some kind of foreground to work with, or as I'm kind of doing here to a degree, emphasizing the nothingness of it, then yeah, it could absolutely work. I mean, they're probably absolutely terrible images, but it's all part and parcel of a learning activity as far as I'm concerned. I don't normally use a wide angle lens because I don't possess a wide angle lens. Now obviously I do now. 7Artisans have sent me this, and a big thank you to them. They're not asking me to say anything particular about the lens, just use it and give my honest feedback on it. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. But also you might think that the normal lens I have, which is a 12 to 40, well, that's wide, isn't it? You know, this is only a 10 mil. Yeah, it's only 2 mil difference. Well, yes and no, because it actually does make a really big difference at this end of the scale. You know, the difference between 140 and 150 mil isn't a huge amount, but the difference between 10 mil and 12 mil is substantially greater. Now, generally speaking, the wider your lens, the more distortion you're going to get. And because there's no electronics in this, there's no way for the camera to know what the distortion is, so it can't correct it. Is that a problem? We're about to find out. I'm just going to look down here, and I'm pointing the camera down, and I'm getting the strap in the way. And we would expect to start seeing distortion the more we kind of tilt. Now, there's not a great deal of distortion, kind of tilting down like this, but as I move around, hold on, let's try, I'll record this. So we'd expect to see some distortion around the edges of this. Now, you can see that I'm kind of pointing the camera down here. I'm quite level, he said, hopefully. Yeah, there we go. So we'd expect to start seeing distortion as we kind of tilt the camera down. And there's not a great deal across here, but watch the grin marker there as we begin to twist. You see how that really has become very, very kind of bent and angular. Oh, it isn't, but that's how the lens is kind of dealing with this. Is it a bad thing? Can we correct it? Probably. I'll have to correct it in post-production. Give it a go and see what we can do with it later. I corrected this using DxO Viewpoint. There's a free trial available via the link in the description. Now, someone had a go at me in a video a little while ago when I was talking about using focus peaking and zooming in, criticising me for not being able to manually focus a lens. And it's like, these tools are here for a reason. Why the hell wouldn't you use them? His argument was a bit kind of dumb. It's like, hey, you silly fool, you don't know what you're doing, you know, you've got to rely on these tools in order to focus. Well, let's go back a little bit. Way back when we were manually focusing everything, we had focusing aids. You had kind of ground glass on your prism or your mirror and all kinds of things that allowed you to detect when something had reached focus. Hell, in waist level finders of Hasselblads and things like that, they got little magnifying mirrors. Truly, if you've got a tool and it's built into your camera to help you focus, use the goddamn thing. Don't go criticising somebody else for using it just because they are using it, just because you think they don't know what they're talking about. It really gets my goat. You can maybe be able to tell that it really does get my goat. One of the big challenges when you're working wide is keeping stuff out of the shot that you don't actually want. And here I've got the shadow of this railing. Got quite a nice line through this. Tops of these beach yards. Running right the way to the RNLI flag up here. I like making real use of a wide angle lens by coming in quite close to something and really kind of emphasizing the width that I can kind of get in. I can get this entire headstone in here, coming down a little low to avoid the roof line over there, simplify the shot a bit. And the great thing is it's a quarter of a turn from one focus limit to the other. It doesn't need any more than that. And I'm sticking at f8 and I've got this whole thing in focus, and it's really quite a dramatic shot because I'm kind of looking up. The headstone has a sense of imposing about it. That's the way to use a wide angle. It's not all about big vistas. Getting close and really kind of emphasize the width. Feel the width. In. Of course, a great use for a wide angle lens is inside. Yeah. To be able to get all of this into one shot is quite a thing. What a place. I've never been in here before. I always say that. I say this a lot, I know. This is the church local to me. Never once walked in here. I think it's a strange looking place. I imagine at one point it probably had a tower, images over there, make it look as though it might have been bombed out at some point. So out in the field, this is a nice little lens to use. When we get it on a table and put it with a grid, we find that actually the edges are really rather soft. Would you notice it in a wide angle landscape type of scenario? I don't think you would. There's actually also, when we get it into a kind of more controlled conditions, I'm no lens aficionado in this, but we find that there is actually not a great deal of distortion, and it's actually really quite well controlled, kind of square onto something. And I'm just using a piece of gridded paper, so it's not scientific, should we say, but then again, I don't think you'd expect it to be. The edges are really quite soft, wide open at f3.5. It gets quite a bit better at f8, where that's really kind of the sweet spot on it, and you get a bit more diffraction as you start closing down a bit more. Is it horrendous? No, it's not. I mean, for a lens that costs $100, it's not really much of a criticism, to be perfectly honest with you. Yeah, if it was a lens that cost $1,500, I think we'd be saying it should be a whole lot better than this. Is it actually noticeable around the edges? Is it soft enough to notice? Sadly, yes, it is. But I think you can kind of control that. I think a lot of the images that I've been taking here really emphasize that fact, because I'm placing something really quite close to the lens at the edge and trying to focus through and get a depth of field. But that's me pushing the lens perhaps too far. I think in general use, I think you'll get much better results out of it. And if you use it with the fact that it is a little bit soft in mind, then I think you can kind of control that. I would say, of course, that because I'm using it on a Micro Four Thirds sensor, I think on an APS-C it might be a bit worse, if that's good grammar, which I know it isn't. The reason being, of course, is that we're not getting the full size of the image cast on the smaller sensor. We're missing the outside bits, so it might not be quite up to the kind of condition that I'm seeing here. I can't say any more than that. It's just give it a try, see what it's like. Would it stop me using it? I don't think it would. We're obsessed with pinpoint sharpness these days, and I don't think we can necessarily expect that at the kind of price point. Acceptably sharp is, in a lot of cases, what we should be kind of working with. When all said and done, it's a great little lens for the money. I'm really rather happy with it. There's a couple of things I'd like to improve. I find getting hold of the aperture ring really, really awkward because it is so close to the mounting back there. I would prefer also to have kind of mid position on the apertures, so we've only got whole f-stops on it rather than quarters or thirds, I should say. I find focusing really easy. There's only a quarter of a turn between the closest focusing and infinity. It is quite simple to use. I've got no major complaints about it. For the money, I think it's an absolute bargain. Should you go and buy one? I couldn't possibly tell you. But what I will say is there are links down below. Of course, they're affiliate links. You wouldn't expect anything else. But yeah, no pressure. If you're running an APS-C or a Micro Four Thirds camera, if you don't already have a wide angle lens, I think it's a worthwhile purchase. But don't buy it just because you fancy getting a wide vista in a landscape. Do that in different ways. You don't need that extra 2mm for that. What you might need it for is getting closer to something and being able to kind of distort a little bit, get some kind of wackier things, or low angles, all those kind of things. But is it a good landscape lens? I would say no, only because I think it's too wide. There are other applications for it, and I think it's well worth exploring. If you're interested in other manual focus lenses for your Micro Four Thirds or indeed APS-C camera, you can check out these over here. In the meantime, thank you very much to 7Artisans for sending that out, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.